The year is 2044. The world is a depressing dystopia of pollution, income inequality, and crime. The youth of this world escape to another, a virtual world, their oasis. To shed some light on the subject, we're not talking about anybody's analysis of what the world is to become in 2044. It's actually the setting of the best-selling novel Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, which, I'll be honest, it's a real page-turner. I'm hooked. While I can't say for certain that we're heading towards the depressing reality that is Ready Player One, we are heading for another reality in the book, virtual reality. Virtual reality is a technology that's been with us for quite some while, but it's not quite taken off until today. So where does one start with regards to the history of virtual reality? Some would point to the Viewmaster, which was actually quite successful during the early 20th century, but it wasn't at all electronic and had nothing to do with video games. Still, others would point to the 1980 arcade game Battlezone, which employed false 3D and goggles. It's a game that many point to as being the first virtual reality game, and Battlezone is being remade for modern systems. Wherever it is that you prefer to start with regard to virtual reality, today we're not looking back, but forward to what virtual reality innovations and games and other inventions we have to look forward to in 2016. Some have taken to declaring 2016 the year of VR. The gorgeous January 2016 cover of Game Informer prominently features virtual reality. In fact, virtual reality is the thrust of the issue. 2016 may turn out to be the year of VR, since it's when the Oculus Rift, PlayStation VR, and HTC Vive are supposed to be released. For the sake of preventing confusion and quashing pedants, virtual reality in this episode of the Black Man and Robin Irregular Game Show refers to the technology commonly employed by video games to immerse users in virtual worlds with more than the usual sensory feedback, creating a sense of presence in another reality. Also, in case you're not familiar with some rather important terms, FOV refers to field of view, which is how far around you can see when you pop on any given VR headset. Generally, the larger the better regarding FOV. An FOV should be large enough that you don't notice the physical edge of a headset screen. Regarding resolution, that refers to how many pixels are in a screen. Again, the more, the better, because for virtual reality, that means you'll be getting a clearer and better defined image. To give a bit of background, virtual reality has as of late been taking off. Since the Oculus Rift's tremendous success in its crowdfunding campaign, virtual reality has gained the attention of some of the biggest players in the gaming industry, from Sony to Valve. We'll begin with what we can expect from Oculus VR, since they're largely responsible for bringing virtual reality to the light in the 21st century. After 4 years, Oculus VR will finally release the finished version of its virtual reality headset, the Oculus Rift. The consumer version of the Rift, sometimes referred to as CV1, has several neat features such as an integrated 3D audio system and a little head tracking system, a cylinder that can sit on a tripod to track your head's location in real time. This is done to help solve the problem of latency. In case you're unfamiliar with the latency problem, it is, essentially, that virtual reality causes nausea when you move, but there's a delay in your headset's own movement. So you're moving, and the camera in virtual reality is moving. The thing is, when the camera in virtual reality moves just a little bit too late, the resulting mismatch can make you sick, resulting in headaches, nausea, eye strain, and in the worst cases, vomiting. There is some rather interesting physiology behind all this. In real life, if you move your head around and what you see doesn't match up with what you're doing, your body takes this to mean that you've somehow been poisoned and you need to purge the poison from your body, hence the vomiting. I've had the misfortune of experimenting with a DIY virtual reality system I cobbled together with a cell phone, cardboard virtual reality headset, and software that streamed footage from my PC to my phone. I played Mirror's Edge with this bootleg virtual reality system for 5 minutes. It was awesome, and after my 5 minutes was up, I thought I was dying. So what does this all have to do with the Oculus Rift and latency? Well, the Oculus Rift has promised multiple solutions in order to solve the latency problem. In addition to their special head tracking technology, the Oculus Rift also has a low latency display. It's meant to result in a few milliseconds less of output delay. Right now, the Oculus Rift is available to pre-order, so what do you get with an Oculus Rift? Ordering one right now will get you a copy of the platformer Lucky's Tale, an Xbox One controller, and of course an Oculus Rift. Additionally, if you're watching this in time to pre-order the Rift, you should know that pre-orders also come with a copy of EVE Valkyrie, which is a space dogfighting game set in the EVE Online universe. Regarding the specs, the Oculus Rift boasts a 2160 by 1200 resolution, a 110-degree field of view, as well as a built-in microphone and 3D audio system. An Oculus Rift pre-order will set you back $600 US plus shipping and tax. The Oculus Rift is cool on its own, but virtual reality gaming has another issue besides latency, and that is input. Sure, keyboards and mice can work just fine for VR games, and the Oculus Rift does come with an Xbox One controller which works quite well, but still, none of these input devices are designed with virtual reality in mind. Fortunately, Oculus VR has you covered with the Oculus Touch, which is an upcoming controller that occupies both of your hands and utilizes sensors to see individual finger motions, thus enabling you to manipulate objects in three-dimensional space. The device was originally supposed to launch with the Oculus Rift, but it has been delayed out to the second half of 2016. Next is the HTC Vive. The Vive is currently in development by HTC in conjunction with Valve and is widely regarded as the Oculus Rift's legitimate competitor, and for good reason. The Vive promises to do everything that the Oculus Rift can, and more. While the Rift has largely been marketed as being for seated experiences, the Vive is offering games you can stand up and walk around in while playing thanks to its Lighthouse system, a tracking system that employs lasers and sensors to let the system see your room. While we don't have the final specifications of the Vive, the second version of its developer kit boasts a camera on the lower half of the headset to allow you to look around the room. This addition brings potential augmented reality gaming. The HTC Vive is set to come out April of 2016. There's no word on cost, but it may be more expensive than the Rift due to its Lighthouse system. What we know about the specs for the HTC Vive right now is that, much like the Oculus Rift, it has a 2160 by 1200 resolution and a 110-degree field of view. What sets it apart from the Rift is that it has a laser-based position tracking system and potential for virtual reality games that go beyond seated experiences. The HTC Vive is set to come out April of 2016. Sony has a horse in the virtual reality race with their PlayStation VR. Originally codenamed Morpheus, which, like Natal was to Kinect, a significantly cooler name, PlayStation VR is a virtual reality headset for the PlayStation 4. This is rather unlike previous virtual reality solutions, which were either for PCs or smartphones, or were consoles in and of themselves, such as Nintendo's Virtual Boy. The PlayStation VR is a headset for a console. That's quite a change. Like the HTC Vive, it seems to be good for more than just seated experiences, which is a plus. At the time of production, there's no word on a release date for the PlayStation VR. Regarding its specifications, it boasts a 1920 by 1080 resolution, a 100-degree field of view, and a 5.7-inch OLED display, as well as 3D audio. Regarding cost, there have been multiple supposed leaks of the price for the PlayStation VR. The most plausible at the time of production puts it in the $500 range, which is cheaper than the Oculus Rift by about $100. Mind you, however, this price is not down in stone or guaranteed to be accurate. A rather serious hurdle that I can see the PlayStation VR potentially stumbling over is the cost. It's uncommon for a console peripheral to be quite as expensive as a virtual reality headset. This device could cost as much as the PlayStation 4 itself. If Sony can keep the costs down while keeping the quality up, however, the PlayStation VR could be a serious contender. The last VR headset you may want to keep an eye on through 2016 is Star VR by Starbreeze Studios. You may know them for Payday the Heist and Brothers A Tale of Two Sons. Well, they're currently developing the Star VR headset, which looks promising in itself. While I've not tried it, it will be going around the country this year at different trade shows, such as PAX Prime and TwitchCon. There's a full list of venues to demo Star VR at starvr.com. The specifications for Star VR are ambitious. It'll boast a 210-degree field of view, a 5120 by 1440 resolution, and real-time optical position tracking. Star VR aims to be at the upper end of virtual reality experiences, and that's great. It's also going to be expensive. Something I can tell you for sure about Star VR is that it's going to be at the center of the upcoming Starcade, a virtual reality arcade in Los Angeles, California. That's on track to be fully revealed sometime during the spring or summer of 2016, and that's all we know. Starcade is not alone in the virtual reality arcade space. There's a VR arcade in development called The Void, and they're looking to go big. They're planning on opening VECs, or Virtual Entertainment Centers, across the world, starting out, however, in Utah. The Void employs the Rapture HMD, a headset with built-in headphones, a 1080 resolution, and what otherwise seems to be a completely ordinary virtual reality headset. However, on closer examination, you'll realize that the Rapture is not just the headset, but that the headset is just the first element of the Void. Also important to the Void is a vest built to give haptic feedback, gloves with a similar purpose, and then there's the Void itself, a place for you to walk around and experience virtual reality in a real environment. Imagine walking through a forest and being spritzed by mist. Having an environment that you can actually participate in virtual reality will make a huge difference. Personally, I'm looking forward to trying out the Void once it opens up to the general public. It's set to be opened up sometime later this year, perhaps around August or September. Nothing's quite set in stone, however. There's some exciting virtual reality tech that we have to look forward to, but everyone knows that the hardware is kinda pointless without worthwhile software. What games do we have to look forward to in virtual reality? Here are 13. Battlezone. This version of Battlezone is a remake of the original arcade game, which is widely regarded as the very first virtual reality game. The trailer that's been released for Battlezone looks fantastic, and frankly, if this turns out well, I'd love to see the developers try their hand at a Tron game, which, come to think of it, why isn't there a Tron game in development for virtual reality? That'd be absolutely perfect. In case you're wondering what the gameplay is like, the original Battlezone was a first-person tank combat game, and it laid a lot of the groundwork for modern first-person shooters. This new Battlezone has what's being described as a retro-futuristic style. It has the same basic gameplay concept as the original, but beautifully updated for virtual reality in the year 2016. Edge of Nowhere. As a science fiction geek, I'm excited for Edge of Nowhere because it quite clearly draws on the Cthulhu mythos. You're on an adventure in Antarctica to find lost explorers, and you wind up seeing things that bend the fabric of reality and threaten to drive you to madness. It's a third-person game which is a little bit unusual for virtual reality, but not entirely unheard of, and it's in development by Insomniac Games for the Oculus Rift. Hopefully, Edge of Nowhere turns out to be Lovecraft done right. Eve Valkyrie comes free with every Oculus Rift pre-order, and for good reason. It's one of the best virtual reality games you can get your hands on, A multiplayer space shooter set in the EVE universe, it puts you in the cockpit of a spaceship. It's well worth checking out. We don't know exactly when the PlayStation VR version will be out, but it's supposed to be a launch title for that platform as well. Final Approach. In development by Phaserlock Interactive, Final Approach is, believe it or not, a game about air traffic control. It's an unusual subject for a video game, let alone a virtual reality game, but it seems to have a cute aesthetic and a fascinating premise. Your goal is to land aircraft safely in a variety of conditions. Sometimes the weather will not cooperate with you. Landing planes isn't all you get to do, however. Sometimes they'll show up on fire, and it'll be up to you to grab a hose and put them out. This is a strange premise for a game, I have to admit, but I look forward to playing it one day. Final Approach is on track to be an HTC Vive launch game. Job Simulator. If you're looking for another virtual reality game about working, Alchemy Labs has you covered with Job Simulator, a comedy game set in a future in which robots have taken over everybody's jobs. The purpose of Job Simulator is to show the kids of 2050 what it was like working in fast food, at convenience stores, and in other jobs. Warning, the experience may not be 100% accurate. Job Simulator is set to be another launch title for the HTC Vive, the Oculus Touch, and the PlayStation VR.
Thank you, human. May I have another?
Volume Coda. Volume Coda is an epilogue to the arcadey stealth game Volume. In Coda, you play as the Troubleshooter, a new character. If you own Volume on the Vita or PlayStation 4, you'll get Coda for free, which is quite nice. We don't have an official trailer for Coda quite yet. Personally, I'm curious as to how Volume's gameplay will translate over to virtual reality. Hopefully, Coda turns out well. Adrift. Out on March 28, 2016, the game is set to be a launch title for the Oculus Rift. It's also coming to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, though there's no official word on PlayStation VR support. If you've read the Ray Bradbury short story Kaleidoscope or seen the film Gravity, you'll have some idea as to what Adrift is about. You're an astronaut whose space station has been wrecked, your spacesuit has been damaged, and you must scavenge the wreckage of your ship as you drift through space, looking for resources to keep you alive and seeking a way back home to Earth. Adrift is a game that I'm excited about in general because I love the concept. Visually, too, it's really quite gorgeous. Golem. In Golem, you play as a girl who's too sick to see the outside world, or so it seems. Even though you're stuck in your room, you can control golems, and you use these stone giants to explore ancient ruins. It seems that Golem is set to come out 2016, but much like most PlayStation VR titles, we can't be sure of when exactly we'll be seeing it. Robinson: The Journey. In development by Crytek, Robinson: The Journey puts you in the boots of a young boy who has crash-landed on a strange planet. The game is a development of the Back to Dinosaur Island virtual reality demos, and looks beautiful. And a bit frightening. We still have no idea on when it's supposed to come out. Hopefully Robinson: The Journey will launch alongside the PlayStation VR.
The name of the game is Let's Not Get Squashed. Two simple rules: follow me closely and do as I say.
Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin. Set immediately after the events of the first Psychonauts game, Rhombus of Ruin tidies up the cliffhanger that we were stuck with. There's no word on gameplay for this first-person puzzler. Wayward Sky. Set in a floating city, Wayward Sky is a beautiful puzzle platformer in development by Uber Entertainment, in which you play as Bess, a young pilot on a mission to rescue her father after he's been kidnapped in the aforementioned city. Wayward Sky swaps between third and first-person perspective. We've not heard much about it as of late, but hopefully more details are unveiled later in the year. Personally, I really like the look of the game. It reminds me of the Ghibli film Castle in the Sky. Chronos. Currently in development by Gunfire Games, Chronos is an RPG in which your character grows old as he progresses.
You gain abilities, but you also have to deal with the inexorable march of time. If this game's executed well, it could be a real hit. Eagle Flight. Our last game is one of the most ambitious. In development by Ubisoft, Eagle Flight is a game in which you play as an eagle, naturally, flying above Paris. You collect stuff, explore, and apparently engage in dogfights with other birds. I'm waiting to see more gameplay footage of Eagle Flight before I pass judgment on it, but I really love the idea. I say it's ambitious because frankly, this has massive potential to induce nausea. How will Ubisoft get around the motion sickness problem? I don't know, but I do know that I would like to play Eagle Flight one day. What's out there beyond the games? Well, there are a myriad of possible applications for virtual reality. Education readily comes to mind, but apparently virtual reality has already saved at least one life. Using virtual reality, doctors were able to navigate through a 3D model of a child's heart that was supposedly inoperable. They then successfully performed the surgery. I have no doubt that virtual reality will continue to save lives. Looking back at the world of entertainment, however, there are upcoming virtual reality experiences that aren't meant for the home, such as the Void and Starcade. Perhaps we'll see a special resurgence, the rebirth of the arcade.
Michelle, I love you, and ever since I've met you, my life has become infinitely better.
It's possible, after all, not everybody can afford a virtual reality headset. Besides the high-end hardware that we're seeing, also expect more cheap VR. Google made great strides with Google Cardboard. There are millions of little cardboard boxes with a pair of lenses that you can slip a smartphone into, and presto, instant virtual reality. Even if it's not the best of experiences, surely it will bring VR to a far greater audience than if the technology were to be eternally, hideously expensive. Will this cheap cardboard VR lead gamers to adopt more expensive systems? Perhaps. In any event, it could make for fantastic marketing. Imagine receiving by mail a free cardboard VR system, popping in your smartphone, and trying out the demo for a virtual reality game that requires a more robust HMD. That would be a rather expensive advertising campaign, sure, but it would definitely be an effective one. Additionally, expect to see more peripherals that add to the VR experience. Take, for instance, the Leap Motion, a sort of external sensor for a VR headset that allows you to see your hands in real time and have them digitized for a video game. I tried it out at Indiecade East 2015 and loved it. If you get the chance, check out our interview with Wilbur Yu, one of the developers of the Leap Motion. Will 2016 be the year of VR? Is it finally time for virtual reality to shine? I can't tell you that, but you can tell me. Please, shoot us your thoughts on Twitter at BlackManandRobin regarding VR and where it's heading. If you want to tell me what you think about this episode, hit me up at Jordan_Camera.